Yep. Hello, hello. Hey, Frank, how you doing? Let's put the members of the Dollar Ego. Say what you're doing, man, ain't legal. Okay, we're getting ready to start the show. I'm going to pull in Frank Vernuccio, my good friend and partner in crime. We've been at this for quite a while. Frank is the editor-in-chief of American Analysis of Policy. And hey, Frank, how you doing?
Charles, it's great to be with you.
Hey, man, a lot going on today. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is these monuments being pulled down. What's your take on that? I mean, what are you thinking? And before you answer, one of the things that I want to add that no one really seems to understand that the history of these monuments is wrapped in Jim Crow. These monuments didn't start to appear until the Plessy versus Ferguson decision was handed down by the Supreme Court of the United States, which validated separate but equal in public accommodations, schools, and basically American life between whites and blacks. And then we saw proliferation of these monuments and statutes honoring Confederate warriors from about 1896 to about 1925, and through the Woodrow Wilson era. So, what's your take on that?
From personal experience, a lifelong New Yorker, I was invited to a wedding in Montgomery, Alabama, a number of years ago. It had to be a long time ago. I was a young man at the time. And I remember seeing, flying on top of the Alabama State Capitol, the Confederate flag. And I got to tell you, I kind of took a double take at it. I don't know any other country that over 150 years after its Civil War would actually still be honoring or still be allowing the flying of an enemy flag. That being said, I think there are two issues involved. One, of course, is whether Confederate monuments or a Confederate flag should be flown on public property. That, of course, I think is an interesting topic because, again, it was an enemy of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So flying it on public property is somewhat jarring. But I think there's a second part involved, and that is flying the Confederate flag, as a bumper sticker on a car, on a private home or something along those lines. In the case of private property, it becomes a First Amendment issue. And whether you want to fly the Confederate flag or the flag of the zombie republic on private property, you have the right to do so. Is it in poor taste? Well, that's a matter of conjecture,
right.
But certainly you have the right to do so. In terms of on public property, however, clearly it is offensive to a large number of people. A government needs to be responsible to all of its constituents, and so it becomes an issue that probably it's wise not to fly the flag of what was an enemy nation against the United States.
You have to remember this, Frank, that, as I said before, all of these Confederate symbols were put up in protest of black liberation, black freedom. The flags in the state governments, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, they didn't incorporate the Confederate symbolism until the 50s in the civil rights movement. That's a fact. So we can say, well, why didn't they switch over their flags, 100 years before, 50 years before? No, they switched it over when the civil rights movement got active. They incorporated these symbols of racism in their public flags. Like Alabama will never change. That's why I don't understand why black players play for Alabama. I just don't get that for some reason. Hence
the difference between flying it on public property and flying it on private property. I do suspect, and again, I'm from New York. I've not lived in the South. I've visited, but not lived there. but I've known folks from the South, and I believe their use of the Confederate flag, particularly the ones who were somewhat younger, who weren't around in the 1950s, is less an expression of racism than just some kind of cultural phenomena. But again, there's a sharp difference between flying it on public property and having a Confederate flag as a bumper sticker on a car.
All of that said, Frank, I did live in the South. My family's from the South, so we ventured down south frequently in the 50s and 60s. When we couldn't stop on the side of the road, we had to stop on the side of the road for bathroom breaks, and we couldn't eat in the restaurants or go in the gas station to get a pack of cigarettes. So I lived through all that, and I can tell you that those symbols are about racism, and they're racist. They can talk about the glory to the flag. So okay, so let's do this analogy. What about Hitler? What about Stalin? You cannot go to Moscow and find one statue of Stalin. Did you know that? You cannot find one statue of Stalin.
That's true, but of course, remember they don't have a First Amendment in Russia or Germany or anyplace else.
No. That's fine. But I don't care where you have a First Amendment, Second Amendment, whatever. Right is right, wrong is wrong. We, the Union, defeated traitors. These were rebels. They were against the Union. If they had won, we would not have a Union. So why would to fought against the Union? To
my New York perspective is that we should not. And again, it's inappropriate to have those on public property. What I'm saying, however, is that disgusting as it is, if we begin to ban, say, a private car owner from putting
I don't care.
Swastika,
I don't care
a swastika or a Confederate flag on his car, I think that becomes a First Amendment issue.
But people haven't done that. I mean, my wife and I rented a house over in Michigan several years ago before we bought a house over there, and this white boy hung a rebel flag out on the sidewalk. So when you say to me that this flag doesn't symbolize racism, I can tell you that my experiences with it is that it always symbolizes racism and hate. So when we came back, what the other people did in the little community we lived in is they all hung American flags out to let this white boy know, you lost, white boy. You lost, you racist bastard. You lost. You know, there's no room for you here. And that's what I'm saying to you. So First Amendment or not, there are no statues to Stalin, who took Russia from basically mules and wooden plows to nuclear weapons. I mean, so regardless of what you think of the guy, he took a huge poor ass country and made him a nuclear power world superpower. And that says something. So and
interestingly enough, Charles, where there are statues to Stalin? In Seattle, in Washington State.
Really? Why?
which kind of boggles the mind.
Why?
Because increasingly, the West Coast, particularly Seattle, places like that, are turning not just to the left, but to the communist left.
No, but
I think that's a somewhat frightening thought.
But I don't understand why they would erect a flag. There's a lady on the line named Trina Kerr. Hello, Miss Kerr? Hello? Okay. There was somebody on the line named Kerr, and I was just trying to see if you wanted to join the conversation. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry. So why? I don't understand why these monuments to Stalin even exist on our West Coast. I don't get it.
Increasingly, you're finding that the American left is not just traditional liberals. Certainly, they passed that a long time ago. They're not folks who are interested in any social cause. They are people who truly advocate turning the United States into a socialist or indeed even a communist republic. And I think that's a very frightening thing. It was not frightening when it was just a trivial group of people, But now you're seeing a significant portion of the entire Democratic Party that openly advocates socialism. And if we're looking at this next election coming up, considering that so many in the media are hard left, it is a frightening possibility that we could go the way of Venezuela or Cuba or North Korea.
Well, Frank, the thing that this is how they try to guise socialism. And this is something that Martin Luther King was careful not to participate in, because the civil but you've had this conflation of equality, racial equality with social equality, in that everyone should have a big home and everyone should have 3 cars and everyone should be rich because we should all be like each other. See, they've conflated the real issues of the civil rights movement, which was access to pursuing the American dream, to let's give everybody the American dream because they deserve it. So does that make sense?
We need to go deeper into what you just said, because one of the prevailing ideas of the so-called Great Society movement, which started in the 1960s and has continued on ever since, is that there was a kind of contempt by the left for black Americans, that given an equal chance, even given making up for inadequate education in the past and inadequate opportunities and harsh discrimination and slavery and segregation, that even after affirmative action, that somehow or other blacks could not compete on an even playing field. And the inherent racism of the left is just that you can't give blacks an equal opportunity unless you gave everyone somehow a freebie, that you somehow adopted the socialist concept of no private property and that sort of thing.
Frank,
and it is really inherently racist in and of itself.
I look back at affirmative action, and I look at how it was bastardized. And I look at, the NAACP did not support affirmative action. And they didn't support
Correct.
affirmative action because the Jews on the board didn't support affirmative action. Affirmative action was clearly one thing and one thing only. And that was about giving qualified black people an opportunity to pursue the American dream. I know that as a naval officer, these white boys that I was in officer candidate school with at NROTC were certainly no more smarter than me or better than me or physically, mentally, academically, or anything else. But in the past, I would never have gotten a shot at being a naval commissioned officer because of the color of my skin. When I graduated from college, you could primarily do several things. You could be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, or you could work in a government or in some government job. The private sector, the Xeroxes, the IBMs, the General Motors, General Dynamics, they didn't hire black people as white collar employees. They just did not hire your ass. Okay? I don't care how qualified. Same way with the airlines. How many black pilots came back from World War II, Vietnam, and could not get a job flying for the airlines? They give white women jobs flying for the airline, knowing all the time anyway, I'm not even going to get into that side of it. But anyway, so as we look at this thing, and I keep talking about, we talk about affirmative action, how it was bastardized. The father of affirmative action, who implemented it for Dick Nixon, was my political mentor, a man named Arthur Fletcher, Dr. Arthur Fletcher. And Art said he just sat back and looked at these white boys in the room in this cabinet meeting. Their biggest fundamental fear was that their daughters and their wives were going to be treated like they had treated women. And you know what that was about, Frank? Having sex for keeping their jobs. Having sex for see, nobody ever talks about, you grew up in New York, you know about the sex in the jobs, you know about the sex in the back rooms, in the first shops, and all this, and in these domestics in these homes having to put out for their bosses. People try to ignore that this went on and goes on in America. Harvey Weinstein is the tip of the iceberg, man. I mean, I can tell you about just, regular dudes who had cleaning women who said, if you want to keep your job, you'll bend over and give me some. I mean, and women did it. Okay? And there's a woman who did a great job of writing a book about sex and civil rights. Her name is, I want to say Michelle Alexander. But the name of the book is At the Dark End of the Street. She works at Wayne State University. I interviewed her about 10 years ago when she first came out with this book. And it's an interesting, she's the only person I know that writes about sex and civil rights. The civil rights, what upset the white boys more than anything else was they wouldn't have access to these black women like they had been. A black woman walking to school or walking to home from groceries could get picked up, raped, taken out and nobody said anything. Nothing. It's just commonplace. No recourse. No nothing. Husband, mad as hell. What is he going to do? See, in my family, it was a little different because my family was known to shoot white men who mess with their women. My granddaddy had to leave his family, my father and my grandmother, because he shot a white man for messing with one of the women in our family. Shot him 6 times in the heart. That's our family lore.
Interesting. It goes back to the entire topic that you and I have discussed on a number of occasions, which is that the left's penchant for gun control has its legacy going back to the era of the post-Civil War, when laws were made to deprive blacks of having weapons to protect themselves from groups like the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
That is the origin of gun control in the United States.
No question. And still is. I mean, you look at the south side of Chicago. Frank, I've been a gun advocate since you've known me. I've worked on every...
We both have.
We both have. And, I've worked on... I work with the various gun groups here dealing with... the mayor who really controlled the state in terms of this gun issue, taking guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens for years while the crime rate went up. And see, people refuse to look at the science. You hear the liberals talk about the science. Well, what about the science of gun ownership? Wherever people own guns, crime seems to go down. When gun laws are put in place, crime goes up. Chicago used to be 7th or 8th in terms of killings or deaths in the nation. They changed the gun laws, took guns away from people. It went to 2 or 3. D.C. was like 15 or 16. They took guns away from people in D.C. They went to 1. So Chicago and D.C. went back and forth from 1 to 2 in terms of highest deaths in the country. And
isn't it fascinating? The further development? Now we're asking to defund the police, and the mayor of Chicago not only wants to defund the police, but she tells her citizens that you can't use a weapon to defend yourself against a criminal attack, which deprives you of your right of self-protection. One of the things that's not talked about in the whole discussion, the whole debate about gun control, if you look not at the Second Amendment, but at the 9th and 10th Amendments, which say that they reserve to the states or to the people those rights not specifically granted to the federal government. And that concept of the people have the rights that are not specifically given to government is lost on the folks who want to disarm the public. Now when we're looking at an increase in crime throughout the country, for one reason or another, a lot of it having to do with groups like Antifa, you're saying people don't have the right to defend themselves. Government was never given the power to tell individual citizens that they couldn't, by any means appropriate, defend themselves.
Right, but they have, and here in Chicago, a good buddy of mine, Howard Brookins, who led the gunfight, and he led the as an alderman, and he also led bringing Walmart into this city. We talk about, he defended many a businessman who had, these people had cash businesses, whether it was a laundromat or a liquor store or whatever, and they took a gun to defend themselves. Police would pull them over, knowing all the time who they were, knowing they were businessmen, pull them over, arrest them, lock them up because they had a gun to protect themselves from being robbed by the bad guys. How crazy is that? These liberals have lost their damn mind.
On a massive scale in places like New York, for example. There are people who own small grocery stores, also called bodegas, who get robbed 6 or 7 times in the course of several months, in the course of a season. They finally, out of desperation, get a gun, legally or illegally, and defend themselves. There are cases where a shop owner will have a baseball bat, and a guy comes in, he's recognized this guy, he's robbed him before. He goes after the perpetrator with the baseball bat. Tell me how the story ends. It ends with the police coming to arrest not the perpetrator, but the shop owner who used that baseball bat or that gun to defend himself.
Right. And they say, but see, that's what they do. That's how they overturn the logic. You know, in my lifetime, and I talked to my friends in high school about this. Let's see, Miss Kerr is back. Let's see if she wants to speak. Trina Kerr, how are you? Hello.
This is JD.
Hey JD, how you doing? It says Trina Kerr on your thing here. Did you want to participate? No.
How you doing, guys?
Good. Did you want to participate?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
think I called up just to listen.
Okay, whatever. Let's go. So anyway, we got. So I can't remember what I was talking about before. Anyway,
we're talking about self-defense, particularly, and how it was taken away from blacks in the Old South, and it's taken away from just about everyone in major cities throughout the United States.
And see, but that's the logic. I never thought in my lifetime that I would see the kind of things that are passing for right and the way to do things in my lifetime. I mean, we didn't strive for this. I mean, I think today you pick up the phone, you try to do business, you try to conduct a business call, and you're dealing with people who don't even understand English, man. And you go, wait a minute, I'm not giving English lessons here. You prepare yourself all your life to conduct yourself and conduct business in a certain way. And what have these liberals done? They brought in all these people who are so dumb, they're not bilingual. They don't even speak their own language. They speak Ebonics in Spanish. So we have a lot of issues that are going on in this country today and in this world. And I tell you one thing, I love Donald Trump to death, but he needs to get some better advisors around him on some of these issues, because some of these issues he just needs to let the hell go, and he needs to continue to focus on others. Like, he needs to keep his focus in the foreign area. He needs to keep his focus on China. He needs to keep his focus on Russia. He needs to keep his focus
on that border.
He's got to keep his focus on that damn border. But they've only put up 200 miles. I'm like, so how many more miles do they have to go? 800?
Thereabouts, if not more, actually.
I thought I heard 550 miles was the goal.
No, I'm talking about
long time ago.
I'm talking about getting it done, completed. Not.
I know.
So I'm just tired of these guys messing around here. If we can go to the moon, close the damn border, and when they build those tunnels underneath the fence, they need to have some type of earth shaker to cave those tunnels in. They have equipment that can detect tunneling. I don't know why these people are allowed to tunnel all the way. They have equipment that will detect tunneling. If they didn't, wouldn't somebody have tunneled into Fort Knox by now?
Well, Cheryl
I believe the Israelis are pioneers in that type of equipment.
Cheryl Atkinson had a show on this Sunday about the border, a certain segment in Maricopa, I believe, and they have been using cameras for the last 2 years in specific areas, and they are snagging everybody with this camera protocols that they have, and it shows, and they have the sheriffs and what have you, how well it's working. So some of the things are just not on the nightly news.
Well, of course not, because it doesn't fit the narrative. You know, I get tired of these corporations. When in America did we say that we were bilingual, English or Spanish? Why not English or French? Why not English or Greek? Why not English or
Well,
Chinese?
Here's the kicker in all that. To become, if you're born in America, obviously you're gonna, or you should be able to speak English. If you are becoming an American citizen, and remember, only American citizens are supposed to vote. To become an American citizen, you have to pass the citizenship test, which means that you have to have a at least limited proficiency in English. Why is it then, JD, and why is it then, Charles, that when you go to vote, there, in many cases, in a city like New York, for example, there are half a dozen different languages available when you go to the polling place. If you don't speak English, frankly, you're probably not an American citizen, and you should not be voting. But there's the rub. Because we're seeing in a lot of elections, non-American citizens vote illegally. And I think that's something the Democratic Party has been pursuing for a long, long time.
Yeah, Frank, I've asked the same question many times. As you just phrased it, if you become a citizen, you have to read and write some amount of English. And why then the ballot has to be printed in Spanish. The names are the same in English or Spanish. And all you have to know is D or R or I that is behind the names. It's a completely bogus argument. You asked about the English language. Well, Harry Reid, Whorehouse Harry Reid, was the majority leader when it came up for a vote years and years ago in the Senate, and he and the Democrats defeated it. You have to obviously see that the purpose, you're asking why things aren't done, because the Democrats don't want them done. Why did they want 1.8 million DACA people, kids, become citizens when Trump proposed it? Because they want it for a campaign issue, and that's what they've got. And they just want all of these things for issues to run on against or whatever, to portray the Republicans as racist and what have you. It's ironic, Richard Nixon, I think Charles Bass, voted, and the Republicans voted for the Civil Rights Bills in the 50s, 57, I think, where John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson voted against it, along with Russell and Stennis and Fulbright and what have you. The Democrats are much smarter, in conjunction with the media, their friend, on creating this narrative, of the Republicans are racist and what have you. And it's just the opposite in regards again to voting. Why are the Democrats so heavy on voting for Spanish and on making everybody vote, not making them have a ID? Because they want the illegal votes. It's so easy what they're trying to do. But the dumbbells in the Congress, the Senate, and the House, they act like they see no evil. They're like Helen Keller in the Senate, Republicans sometimes.
The thing no, they're not. They just go along to get along, and they're all getting rich. As someone sent me, a guy named Mike Miller sent me a picture over the Father's Day weekend. He says, how do these people become millionaires on a $200,000 a year salary? How did they become millionaires on a $200,000 a year salary?
Because I get you a contract for your business, Charles, whether it's making bullets or hamburgers, and then obviously I get insider information on stock, and who knows how many bundles of cash I get. It's ridiculous. I think the country's going down the drain.
Well, that's why they didn't want Trump in, because, see, what people aren't talking about is when Trump came in and he started the Business Roundtable, the Business Roundtable was aimed at increasing American citizens' income and quality of life. And Trump said to the executives, it's unconscionable that you're making $30, $40, $50 million a year and you haven't increased the wage of your workers. That was Trump's message when he first came in. So what did they do? They attacked him on the Russian. Oh, he's a Russian spy. So what does the guy do who's heading who's chairman of the Business Council? Oh, I can't work with President Trump. He's a spy. He has all these things going on. We can't do business with him. So they dissolved the Business Council, the White House Business Roundtable. The black guy.
And what keeps the salaries down? The illegals and now they're blasting him. He's stopping 545,000 visas from coming into the country to make those jobs available for the people in America that are out of work, and they're attacking him on that. It's ridiculous. But the games they play. These people are not for the country. They're just for power, number one, and for themselves, number two.
Frank? Yeah, unfortunately, I have to leave for another interview.
Okay.
It's been a great conversation. JD, it was great to hear from you again.
Likewise, partner. You have a good day out there in New York and stay safe. And I hope you can avoid Mayor de Blasio and Fredo Cuomo and the gang.
Yeah, reporting to you from behind enemy lines in New York City.
Okay, Frank.
Take care, gentlemen.
Have a good one, Frank. All right. Hey, man.
Charlie boy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. But look,
golly.
Listen, I got David Rubin calling in. Where's Rubin? He
should
be calling in from Shiloh, Israel here shortly. But,
that David, the mayor.
Yeah.
Is he a mayor?
Yeah. So I'm just trying
ambassador.
to pull him in here. Where is it? He should come up here shortly. But anyway, I'm just getting ready to do a couple of things here, JD. So, what's on your mind right now? Because I'm going to head in a different direction here in a minute. What's going on?
No, you carry the ball. I'll just listen.
All right. So I'm going to mute you out here. So
what?
I'm going to mute you out here. I'm going to mute you for a minute.
Mute me. Oh yeah, mute.
Okay. So I got a couple of things going here. I am really frustrated. I'm frustrated about Black Lives Matter. I'm frustrated about this lockdown, this coronavirus lockdown. Black Lives Matter is really pissing me off every single day because Black lives really don't matter to Black Lives Matter. If they did, they'd be protesting here in Chicago yesterday when I think 18 people were killed here in Chicago over the weekend. Another, I think it was somebody said 68, someone said 72 people wounded. These are numbers we didn't see in Iraq and Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq and Afghanistan. Hence the term Chirac, which was coined on my radio show in 2007. I don't know about you, but, Black Lives Matter is noble. But they need to focus on who's really dying here. How many police officers killed people last weekend in Chicago? 0. How many black men were killed by police officers in New York last weekend? 0. But I can bet you in New York, well, we know here was anywhere from 11 to 18. In New York, it was probably similar. In D.C., it was probably similar. Atlanta, similar. Cops are, when a cop shoots an unarmed person, it's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But weekend after weekend after weekend, you will find, as long as it's warm, you're going to find double-digit homicides in these major cities, and it's generally black-on-black crime. Statistically, black-on-black crime is 84%. Black-on-white crime is 12%. White-on-white crime is 86%. White-on-black crime is something like 14%. But let's look at some other statistics which are really frightening. Black men constitute 8% of the U.S. population. Black men commit 36% of the homicides in America. Black males are 52% of the victims of homicides in America. These ratios, these proportions are startling. So you're talking about, when you look at that 8% of of black men being in the population, we're talking about less than 1% that are probably criminal, that are probably committing homicides. These people are sick. That's why I always say, I don't want to live around some black people. I want to live around black people like me. See, in Atlanta, you find neighborhoods like that where they're all professional black folks. Here in Chicago, they want everybody's mixed. No, everybody shouldn't be mixed. My interests aren't the same as the guy who's doing something else. That's the problem with Section 8 people. Barack Obama and his bullshit. He went out and gave poor ass Section 8 people $7,000 vouchers for $7,000 a month to live in luxury housing. So you're going to bring a ghetto ass person into a luxury apartment building with their ghetto ass shit.
Charles.
Yeah, I'm here.
You said $7,000 a month?
Yeah, he was giving vouchers for $7,000 a month here in Chicago for people to move.
The most I heard was $1,725 a month.
No, $7,000. Look it up. He gave people here in Chicago $7,000 a month in an 8A voucher to move into. They wanted to integrate upscale. So give me some, bitch. Give me goddamn $5,000 to move into an upscale apartment.
Shit.
The man was unconscionable. The man was a socialist to his heart. He needs to, if there's any statue that needs to be pulled down, is one erected to Barack Insane Obama. He did more. He did more.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He did more to damage this country from a racial, from a economic, from a military perspective than any other president in our modern time. And by modern time, I'm talking Woodrow Wilson forward. Barack Obama is the worst president. And I always say, I got to put this in because I say it almost every day. Jimmy Carter can lay down in transition now because he doesn't have to wake up and go prove that he wasn't America's worst president. That definitely belongs to Barack Insane Obama.
Charles, let me ask you a question. Would you like to go on Wayne Allen Root's show, on his national show, and repeat those figures that you were talking about in Chicago, either today or tomorrow? I'll call him up and let him ask him to call you.
Yeah, I would do it. It's true. It's not like it's not.
All right,
true.
I'll give you your cell number.
But Wayne is cool, man. I love Wayne.
All right, let me call him up right now. I can catch him right now.
All right, talk to you later.
I'll give you your cell number. Bye.
Bye. So we look at these numbers and you go, wait a minute, what the heck is happening? What is going on? So over the Father's Day weekend, this is the final tally. See, and this tally's not done yet. It's not done yet because, see, it's only Tuesday, 1:46, okay? So 1:46 on Tuesday afternoon, 13:46 Central Standard Time, 104 people were shot over the Father's Day weekend. 14 died so far. See, if a guy dies 2 or 3 weeks from now that was shot Saturday or Sunday, we don't count them in that tally. You'll never see them. But they were shot on the Father's Day weekend. They just happened to die 2 or 3 weeks later. That's the kind of curse that's happened in Chicago. This wasn't cops shooting people. These were people shooting people. And the question that becomes, why? It's not over drugs. It's not over women. I mean, why? These young black men need to be hunted down and executed. I was looking at a story I was looking at a story in, what was it? It may have been Fox. I think it was Fox. And this Hispanic dude had killed his stepmother 20 some odd years ago. Stabbed her to death, strangled her, stabbed her, right? So he does his time. He gets out of jail. He's on parole. It's a true story. Look it up. He's on parole, and he kills a doctor. He kills a retired doctor. So I'm putting in here parole. I got to spell right. Parole. Parolee kills doctor. Okay, kills again. Okay, here we go. Kills again. Parolee kills again. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, I think this is. This is not funny, but this happens all the time. So when I put that in, right now I'm getting 1, 2, 3. I get 3, 4, 5, 6 different hits. 7, 8, 9. That these people are too dangerous to put back on the street, but they do anyway. I say put them back into the parole board's neighborhood. Put these killers back into the patrol board neighborhood. I bet you this nonsense would stop. Here we go. This just broke an hour ago. This is in New York Daily News. California man jailed for killing stepmother in the 80s admits to killing Los Angeles doctor. True story. I'm telling you. I mean, it's not like you make this stuff up. It's here. And you have liberals who talk about, well, you don't need a gun. Well, what am I supposed to do if I come up against a guy like this? They're prey, and they're people who are preyed upon. They're predators, and they're people who are preyed upon. And the predators will win out every time if you can't defend yourself. What did Sheriff Clark used to say? Get a gun. Defend yourself until we can get to you. That's the rule, baby. I don't care about these damn criminals. So you can say I'm racist. You could say I'm compassionate. You say all that nonsense until it happens to you, you damn fool. I don't have a lot of respect for liberals. I don't have a lot of respect for cowards. I don't have a lot of respect for people who turn the other cheek. Because you know what? You turn that cheek, the other cheek's just going to get slapped. That's what I would do because you're a little bitch. Now, you know, and what tickles me more than anything is when women try to play that game, you know, and they want to act like they're tough. I've been there too. Some people you can play that game with and some you can't. Because, see, I treat everybody the same. Man, woman, child. I'm going to use the fullest extent of my abilities to win. It's not going to be nice. But this California man, spent 3 decades behind bars. 3 decades for murdering his stepmother. And Monday, he was immediately sentenced to life without the possibility of parole after he killed Anitha Cruz de Leon. She was killed in her East LA home December 7th of last year. She was 76 years old, enjoying life. She just retired. She was a OGBY-gyne. And they say she died from sharp force injuries and strangulation. The FBI agents and local authorities managed to arrest this man. His name was Shavira in Palmdale after 2 weeks of investigation. The exact motive of him killing this doctor is not clear today. He did it because he could do it. There was no type of relationship between he and this doctor, supposedly. Amazing. He was already found guilty of first-degree murder, of stabbing his stepmother to death. His father reportedly came home from work one morning after a night shift and discovered blood stains all over the kitchen and the bathroom. And according to the LA Times, he stuffed his stepmother in the trunk of an abandoned car in Burbank, in Burbank, California. She was found a couple of weeks later. The boy is something else, and then he ran off to Portland. Why'd they let him out? See, the one thing you have to remember about liberals, they don't care about you. They only care about themselves, and they only care about the way things are supposed to be on the surface. They have no respect for you. They have no respect for your privacy. They have no respect for your property. They have no respect for your beliefs. If you don't believe like them, then you're wrong. And nothing can be further from the truth. I detest liberals. I detest liberalism. And why? Because it doesn't work. Because it's always convoluted. Because it's always one-sided. Because it's always skewed against my beliefs. Which is the reason I'm, not partial to liberals at all. Men or women. So needless to say, being in a city like Chicago, it kind of limits who you can date. Not that I'm interested in dating much of anyone. But it limits who you can date because at the end of the day, man, it's crazy. It's real crazy. The statistics. Wow. Black Lives Matter. Yeah, right. Monday, 41 shot, 6 fatally in Chicago. That was yesterday. So that's 20 killings and almost 145 people shot in 2 days in Chicago. We haven't seen numbers like this since Vietnam, folks. Vietnam kind of numbers, okay? And you wonder, okay, so what's going on? How do you deal with it? So I look at it. I'm just responding to a text message I got from a friend. I'm just telling her that no, I didn't see her email. Okay. So, but that's what's going on here. And people don't want to take responsibility. People don't want to. So, but they conflate two different things. Okay. So you have, on one hand, you have people like me who criticizes Black Lives Matter because they don't deal with the whole issue. They only deal with Black Lives Matter from a perspective of a white person killing a black person. Which is flawed because the majority of black people killed are killed by black people. Like the majority of white people killed are killed by white people. The facts are a real trip, aren't they? I would say something else, but, even though it's internet radio, I still try to keep it clean as if we were doing the FCC thing. Okay, so, and I'll be professional. So, the statistics are just clear. Yeah, lives matter. All lives matter, of course. Do Black Lives matter? Of course they do. But I am not concerned. Let me repeat. I am not concerned about some white man in a white hood or black hood shooting me, or a skinhead shooting me. I'm concerned about two people shooting me in this society today, and when I go get in my car and I drive off somewhere. And who are those two people that I'm afraid of? The police, of course, because I've had guns pulled on me on traffic stops, not in the act of or commission of a crime, but on a traffic stop. Okay. Who's the second person that I'm afraid of when I get in my car to go somewhere? That little baby face looking nephew like black kid who pulls up next to me and smiles and then pulls out a 45 or 9mm and starts racking off shots. Cha-ching, 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 for gang initiation. Hello. See, because I know the first shot he's going to miss because, it's just a tendency. People do that who've never killed anyone before. They tend to miss on the first shot because your inclination is not to take a human life. Then after that, man, it's a free for all. You got to go. You got to be prepared to put bullets on target. I'm prepared I'm not doing a miss. No. My thinking is bullets on target, bullet one, round one on target. Poop. Round two on target. Poop. If necessary, round three on target. Poop. All headshots. But that's what I'm afraid of. Not some white supremacist, not some white nationalist blowing me away, but some kid who could be my nephew, could be my grandson, just shooting me to hell and back because of his messed up inclinations of what it means to be an African American. An African. That's the dumbest statement I've ever heard. An African. I hear people, and the African. Lord have mercy. You know who made that dumb stuff up was that dumbass. Let me repeat this. You know who made that term relevant in American culture was the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the man who never finished. Well, he did finish college, but he went to North Carolina A&T. I mean, no bastion of intellectuals down there. African American. What an oxymoron. Most of the people I talk to say, I'm a black American. I'm a black American through and through. I'm not an African American. No, nothing to do with Africa. Even the Africans don't want anything to do with Africa. Africa's a continent at the end of the day. Hey, but look, we're going to be back tomorrow. Today, the show kind of got away from us, kind of snuck up on me, and, it is what it is. But we are going to have some fun tomorrow doing what we do, which is staying relevant and taking care of business, bringing the truth to you, the American people, my fellow Americans. So have a good one, and we'll be back tomorrow.
You see that black boy over there running scared, his old man in a bottle. He done quit his 9 to 5, he drink full time, and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared, his old man got a problem, and it's a bad one.
He done everything of a bottle.